like to call to order this meeting of the Apple Valley Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for August the 7th, 2025. At this time, I'd like to invite all those present who are willing and able to please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good evening, everyone. First thing is we need an agenda for this evening, and one has been put together for us. Members, are there any additions or changes you'd like to see made in the agenda for this evening? None? Then I would look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda as printed.
I'll make a motion.
Excuse me, before we do that, do we want to discuss the naming rights to the pickleball areas? Or
We can. Would you like to?
I think it makes sense to do that, so
Okay.
I guess I'd make a motion to add that pickleball naming rights, or not the rights, but the naming to the agenda.
Second that.
Okay.
Like item 5G or something like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I put it.
All right, so you made a motion, Dave, or?
He made a motion. We had a second.
I seconded it.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Next up is the audience participation. Set aside time for every meeting for the audience to come and speak with us if they would like. So is there anyone that would like to speak to us tonight? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on. Next is the approval of the minutes for the June 2025 meeting. Have you all had a chance to look at those meeting minutes? Are there any changes that anyone would like to see made? And I would look for a motion to
Move to accept as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion from Randy and a second from Craig. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes unanimously. All right, now we're on to agenda items, and first is 5A, ALIMAGNET Park National update.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for having us. I'm Samantha Berger. I'm the Natural Resources Coordinator at the city. With me, I have Taylor Stockert. He's our city arborist and our natural resources technician. So we'll give you a brief update on where we are at with the ALIMAGNET Natural Resources Management Plan. So we're excited to announce that we actually received a DNR grant. So that grant is for $262,000, and that's with the DNR Conservation Partners Legacy Grant. So that's also known as the CPL grant. That grant does require a 10% match. And what we're looking to utilize is the funding for it is for a 20.1 acre section of the park, which we are calling Unit 3. We'll go through the different units that were identified in that Natural Resource Management Plan in the next slide here. But what it'll include is some invasive removal, selective thinning of certain tree species, herbicide treatment, and seeding. This grant project would be an intended phase 1 of 2 within Unit 3, and future phases would involve further invasive species management and then additional seeding, planting of native grasses, forbs, shrubs, and potentially additional trees. So kind of how we got here, in 2023, 2024, we partnered with Dakota County and RES to begin the creation of a natural resource management plan. They provided funding. 2024, we did some public engagement, both on site with your committee, and then we had the council approve that plan. And then 2024, 2025, we actually made that application, and then we were just notified here in July that we received that funding. So we're proposing a winter 2025, 2027 to do the proposed implementation of the project. Here's just an outline of what we shared at our open house. So we divided the park into different land management units, and then we prioritized them. So we'll be working on Unit 3, and that actually is where the park entrance is, and it also correlates with an area that's adjacent to Burnsville. So that area is kind of classified as an oak forest MESIC subtype, and as mentioned, about 20.5 acres, and that quality index is about a C, D to a D rating, so that's on an A to B scale.
Yeah, as mentioned, the unit that we are starting with is Unit 3. It's about 20 acres. It's the southwest unit of the Apple Valley portion of ALIMAGNET Park. The work is adjacent to Burnsville restoration areas, which is a significant motivation as to why this one was selected first for restoration. That's going to help us provide greater habitat continuity and just sort of reinforces each city's efforts. Buckthorn and other invasive species do not stop at political boundaries, so that'll be just an excellent kind of build off of what Burnsville has already accomplished. It also matches other efforts that have been occurring in the ALIMAGNET Lake and Park area, such as our alum treatments and aquatic plant reintroductions. So this is our restoration goal. It does look a little stark, admittedly, once invasive woody plants such as buckthorn are removed. But this is a really good example of an oak savanna or woodland ecotype on the right-hand side, with plenty of herbaceous plants, an herbaceous plant layer underneath a mature sort of sparse oak canopy. So historically, ALIMAGNET's lake and park area was oak, savanna, and woodland. And I did put a definition on there for you. The definitions are a little loose, kind of depending on your source, but savanna is characterized as having 10 to 50% tree cover, woodland a little bit higher, 50 to 70%. Historically, it was a very important habitat type. It ran from northern Minnesota down to east central Texas and wrapped around Lake Michigan as well, up into the state of Michigan. So it was a pretty wide swath. It was sort of the transition zone between prairie and eastern deciduous broadleaf forest. However, when fire, grazing, and then later fire and grazing were no longer occurring in these areas, and then later development moved in, these savanna areas were overtaken by woody invasive shrubs, volunteer opportunistic trees such as box elder, maple, elms, and it kind of closed the canopy in. Right now, cover for much of the area of the park is going to be kind of 90% or greater. We're sort of shooting for a 70 to 90% total tree cover canopy area within the park. Just looking at a couple of, I should say, one historical image comparing to today. As you can see on the left-hand side in 1937, there were a lot of sort of open areas. The density of the tree stands was going to be a lot less as well. And I would also say that before this, it's also possible that the density was even less than what we're seeing here. This was after fire suppression kind of became a practice, and farmland sort of kind of ruled the roost for this area around ALIMAGNET Park. As compared to today, the density is quite high. Next steps. We are bringing approval of our grant agreement to City Council later in August on the 28th meeting, I believe. That's our plan. And we intend to host public engagements just to get feedback from residents, as well as kind of inform them as to the level of the work that we're going to be performing in the park. We are going to then begin staging on the project and working on setting up RFPs to from contractors to begin the project this winter. Just to give you kind of a really nice parallel, in Burnsville, they are doing similar work this winter. Actually, they had a section of their park that they did. It was about 15 acres. It was a pretty stark contrast. It was really tremendous work. this is just an image of them clearing out just a giant stack of buckthorn. Over the course of a number of weeks, they were able to get the park cleared out and sort of restore it to an oak woodland almost immediately. I mean, there's a lot of work to do with follow-up treatments and spraying other, you know, invasive shrubs and whatnot as they reoccur. But they did do the bulk of the work this winter. Here's another image. As mentioned, this is phase 1 of 2 phases in this 20-acre section, Unit 3 within ALIMAGNET Park. Phase 2 is going to involve further diversification and seeding of native grasses and forbs, probably incorporating a native shrub layer and also possibly incorporating some trees as well. And that is also, phase 2 is also going to involve doing a prescribed burn in the park, possibly several prescribed burns, kind of like what we're seeing here in Burnsville. Once we are able to clear out some of the shrubbery, the invasive shrubbery, maybe thin out some of the more aggressive trees that are in the overstory, we'll be able to get more light, which will allow us to grow more grasses and forbs and whatnot, and that creates sort of a nice thatch layer, and we'll be able to have the fuels to perform prescribed burns in the park, which is a great long-term management tool.
All right, moving on, I just wanted to share some updates of additional things that have been occurring within the lake. So actually, yesterday, we were out on the lake in this little bay here, shown in red, doing an aquatic plant reintroduction. Last year, we did a first alum treatment, and so what we do is you actually apply aluminum sulfate to the lake. That helps bind with the dissolved phosphorus in the lake, and we saw pretty immediate results in terms of water clarity. And so with that, we're expecting additional plant growth. So we wanted to kind of fight the invasive plants that are out there, and so we teamed up with the University of Minnesota and the DNR, and then obviously the city of Burnsville as well, who are a great partner to us, to actually take plants from one lake and plant them into this lake. So here we have different images shown of the different plot areas, and the U of M will be doing monitoring. So we have a couple control, and then they selected a few different types of species. So that's an exciting thing. We've actually done this in Keller Lake as well, but it's just another way that we're trying to improve the quality of the lake out there. So I just have a few other photos. This is groups from the DNR and U of M, and then we had a Burnsville intern actually rolling up these plants in like a burlap burrito, and then they actually staked those in to the ground. So kind of interesting. A lot of research is happening throughout the states to kind of figure out how we can reintroduce these native aquatic plants, just because we've had so many nuisance plants. Curly leaf pondweed, for instance, is a really bad one, and Eurasian water milfoil. In addition to things happening on the land, we're also looking at opportunities for shoreline stabilization as part of enhancing the park. So this is just an example of some opportunities that other people have done. So what you're seeing are some coconut coir logs actually that are kind of staked into the shoreline, and you're actually able to plant into those. We met with the Soil and Water Conservation Districts, who is a good partner to us as well, and they can actually assist with some design for that. So we're looking into the possibility of future grants to do some shoreline work out there. And with that, do we have any questions?
I have a couple questions, I guess. Do you have the map of the plot that we're working with?
In the lake or on the?
On the, yeah, no.
Unit 3.
Yeah, Unit 3.
Okay, yep.
There. There's a little hunk of the park just north of there. Is there any reason that we're not doing that with this one? Or is that, I mean, it's not a big piece of property there, but
Sure.
is
Mr.
it
Chair, good question. So the way that these units were divided up were kind of in terms of what type of land management. So I think the knob you're referring to is more of a manicured space,
well,
perhaps?
no, I'm talking about, you know,
You got it? Okay.
the property line runs straight north and south.
So if we were, look at this,
So like
Yeah,
where
that kinda
8C
shows-
is right
yeah.
there. Yeah.
So Unit 3 is from this line, this sort of light green line, all the way down to here.
Yep.
Are you referring to this section here?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is Unit 4. Part of the selection in terms of which unit we were going to tackle first, second, third, and so on and so forth, has to do with just kind of breaking them down into manageable chunks. So the area that we were doing first, Unit 3, is 20 acres, and that alone has a cost of about $14,000 an acre.
Okay.
And it's also really helpful to sort of start with a smaller portion because it does take a number of years for the work and the treatments that you do to take effect and for you to sort of react to the effects of what you're sort of installing on the landscape.
Okay.
So Unit 4, that's the unit that you're referring to above Unit 3. That is a planned effort that we were going to do in the future. It's just not the first one that we're doing.
Okay. And so when you take out buckthorn and the other invasive species, I see one of those slides showing you burning them. Is that what the plan is? That you burn those, or do you leave them piled, or do you remove them from the premises, or?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mr. Chair. There are a number of methods that we can pursue. The one that we wrote into the grant application was actually burning it on site in the park, setting up, the way Burnsville did it, I think that's probably the best way to kind of talk about it, is they burned it in the park in one central burn pile. The reason they did that really is due to cost. Chipping it and hauling it off site is exorbitant. Leaving it in the park does work, but the slash is kind of maintained there on the landscape probably for a number of years, and it can interfere with seed to soil contact when we go to seed native plants back into the landscape. So they chose to burn it. The burning was monitored 24/7 while the burn pile was active. They decided to allow the pile to burn through the night, just so they didn't have to start it up in the morning, because it does take some effort to get it going. But once it goes, it burns very clean, very hot, with very little smoke.
But it's green though, isn't it? I mean,
That's what I said. It burns very clean, very hot. Pretty astounding. I saw it myself. It
how
was
do you
pretty
get it
astounding.
started?
Yeah, that's kind of the effort, which is why they once they do get it started, they had somebody sleeping overnight on site right next to the burn pile to monitor it.
Okay.
Because starting it is probably the biggest effort, but once you get it going, it burns up pretty quickly.
I guess the other question I had, you said is predominantly oak. Is that's the main species that's in there?
Yep, primarily white oak. Yep.
Primarily white oak? Okay. Any red oak at all, or anything that?
There's a mix of red oak and bur oak as well. There's going to be a number of other species too. I mean, there's elm, a lot of box elder maple, some basswood. We actually have a total breakdown of all species that were found in our management plan as well.
No.
So that's going to be the bulk of what is contained in there.
In terms of oak wilt, I mean, red oaks are the most susceptible, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And the white oaks can get it, but they are less inclined to get it, or?
Yeah, yep, that's correct. They can get it, and they do get it. It's a little harder to diagnose when they do get it, truth be told. But if they do get it, it does kill the tree significantly slower than it would a red oak tree. It's a matter of years as opposed to a matter of weeks.
And when a tree does die naturally like that, then is the plan to leave it that way for other species or for animals to use, or?
Yeah, whenever possible, we do like to leave snags in the park because it does have significant wildlife value. But in the instance of oak wilt, we do prioritize management, which often requires removal, just to sort of keep intact any healthy oaks that are unaffected by oak wilt.
Okay.
So I had a question. It said that historically there would be 50 to 70% canopy coverage, and now we're shooting for 70 to 90. Why are we aiming on the high side? Is that a cost thing because it has grown in so much and we want to take down less trees, or is there another reason that
Sure.
we'd aim high there, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's kind of a lot. It's kind of a number of things. You know, it's sort of the natural succession of the space. You know, it has filled in significantly, you know, since 100 years ago, since 200 years ago. So part of it is just sort of looking at savanna, native savanna and woodland types and using them as more of an inspiration as opposed to kind of our ultimate goal. You know, another reason we would like to keep up more trees, sort of aim on the higher side of that number, is really just public perception, coming in and removing a bunch of significant mature trees isn't always. I don't think the benefits outweigh the costs of doing that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the ecotypes changed a little bit, and that's okay.
Okay. One other question I had, so this is, I think I remember this from when you brought the plan to us initially. There was a patch of, I believe, Japanese knotweed somewhere in the park. Is there, and then I noticed that there are a couple eroding drainage ways there marked on Unit 2. Is mitigation in those areas going to be ongoing, or is all of the focus in the park during this time really going to be on Area 3? Like, just want to make sure that, or ask how that's balanced so that problems that exist now aren't allowed to get significantly worse, if that makes sense.
Sure. Thank you, Committee Member Long. We will continue to manage the Japanese knotweed as an invasive. And then in terms of the eroding water, or what do we call them, waterways?
Drainage ways.
Drainage ways. They're really not extreme erosion, I guess you would say. So we have met actually with the Soil and Water Conservation District to look at those areas. And if they were more of a major water quality concern, I think it's something that we would tackle. But it may be that we don't tackle those areas until we're within the parks. I'm imagining a lot of tree removal would need to occur too. So, and we're also kind of chasing funds.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
So the eastern part of the park, obviously that's a future endeavor. Are there going to be grants available for that too?
Mr. Chair, we are hopeful that the DNR CPL grants will continue to be able to fund this type of project. And then we're also hopeful that the county is going to get what they have C4 funding. They're going to be applying again, I think, this year. And so we're hopeful we can utilize some of that funding as well. So typically the funding that we're going for is state funding. It's not on the federal level, so.
So is there any guesstimate as far as when the whole park might be ready for having new trails and stuff put in?
Mr. Chair, right now, this is just kind of phase one. The plan that you have kind of identified here was just a 5-year plan where we just identified the different units. So Unit 3 was priority 1, Unit 6, priority 2, Unit 3, priority 8. I mean, this is a 80-acre park, so we kind of got to take it in chunks and
Yep.
just to make it manageable from a staff level
Right.
too, so. I don't know that I have an exact time frame for you in terms
Well,
of trails, but it's a good start for us. It's not something that we've really pursued here in quite some time, so we're excited to get going and see how it progresses.
You have to have a starting point. That's
Exactly, and quite frankly, having a plan in place is a great start, and it allows us to actually get those grant dollars too, so.
good.
Yeah, I've got one question. First, congratulations on getting over $250,000 in grant money. That's fantastic. Nicely done. But I did think I heard you say, Samantha, that there's a 10% match that the city has to put in, which is peanuts compared to what you're getting, so that's fine. But then on the memo we got here, there's no budget impact for this Zone 3 or whatever, Unit 3. Is that, am I missing something, or?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the park referendum, so the $2 million that we have for natural resources, we will access that money to act as the match to this grant.
So there's a budget impact, we're spending some of the money in our budget.
From the referendum, yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Yep, no problems. Thank you, residents.
Thank you, residents.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, just want to thank Samantha and Taylor for all of the work that they've been doing on helping put the natural resource management plan together, on all of the work they did in putting the grant application together, and all the work they're about to do to start to remove invasive species at ALIMAGNET Park. It's not a simple task. You can tell that they're excited about it, and we want to thank them for all of their efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Thank you.
And they're going to stay up there because they got the next one too.
He's out.
At least Sam does.
So the next is the MPCA Stormwater Grant Update.
So, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, once again, Samantha Berger, Natural Resources Coordinator. With me, I have our Assistant City Engineer, Evan Acosta. He may have to chime in on some technical questions, but we're excited to announce another grant that we actually received for 3 parks within the Apple Valley Additions neighborhood. So this will cover Duchess, Greening, and Pennock Park. So once again, we were successful in receiving an actual $5 million grant, and so that was with the MPCA for stormwater resiliency. Only $35 million total was available to the state, and what the intention is to include an infiltration basin, underground chamber, and playground at Duchess Park. We'll get more into the details here in a few slides. Looking at doing a wet pond with a new trail loop at Greening Park, and then incorporating something a little different, an active play infiltration pond. We're workshopping that name, and playground at Pennock Park. But the idea is that that basin will be functional and enjoyable in both dry, wet, and flooded conditions. So something like boardwalks, stepping stones, plantings, art. We're utilizing your consultant to kind of help us with some of those ideas. But I'm very grateful for my predecessors in doing some great planning to actually help us get this project in the ground. So this actually started in 2017 and 2018, where I come from the water resources world, where we actually look at doing a sub-watershed assessment to identify best locations for stormwater improvements to help improve Keller Lake. Keller Lake's impaired for nutrients, and these 3 parks were identified as ideal projects. Kind of fast forward a few years, sometimes those plans sitting on a shelf for a few, but we actually completed a feasibility study as part of a street reconstruction that needs to occur in this neighborhood. So this neighborhood is one of the oldest in Apple Valley. I'll show you a map here shortly. But we did additional feasibility to kind of look at what those neighborhood needs are and what the stormwater management requirements would be. Come 2024, 2025, we actually got a grant, a $60,000 grant to do that feasibility study, but then that allowed us to get enough information put together to apply for this $5 million grant. And then in May of 2025, we were notified that we were selected, and so we're very excited about that. And it's kind of got a tight timeline, so to come 26, 27, we'll be rocking and rolling on these parks. So excited to share that with you. So here's just a map of the area. This is Apple Valley Additions. That's just the name of the plat of the area. So we have Duchess, Pennock, and Greening Park, just to get you oriented. And then to really orient you in terms of what the watershed is to Keller Lake, that's shown in yellow here, and we've got the park circled as well. And this kind of correlates with another project that we've looked at Whitney Pond, which is just where that little star is there. So we actually are pretty sure we got a grant for that, but we're working through this kind of newer grant program as part of that. So you guys will probably get an update on that at some point. So I think I kind of already covered this just in terms of what we are looking to do out there, but I've got schematics, which are a lot more fun to look at than text. So here's an example of the design that was put together at Duchess Park. We're continuing to maintain the facilities that are offered at the park. Perhaps Eric can get more into the details, but the good thing about this grant is that we're actually able to pay for some of the components, such as a playground, that may be impacted as part of these stormwater improvements. So here we have outlined an infiltration basin and then actually an underground infiltration system as well. You won't even know it's there, quite frankly, and that'll continue to allow for play to occur within that park area.
Sam, before you switch slides, can you just point out the blue box that's the underground feature, et cetera?
Yep, so we've got an underground here and then a surface infiltration area here. This would continue to be, this will be a playground area, basketball courts, and the ball field. So this is just kind of the concepts that we came up with as part of that feasibility study and for that grant application.
Is that underground facility, is that the same as what Burnsville has at
Crystal Lake?
Crystal Lake?
It would be a similar feature, yes.
Okay.
I'm not quite positive on all the ins and outs of how that one works, but these underground chambers are fairly common. We actually just put one in at Fire Station 2.
Okay.
Concept at Greening Park would include a ponding area, and then we actually are going to incorporate a walking loop around the pond as well. And then continue to maintain the ball field and have the basketball court and playground. And lastly, this is our little infiltration basin interactive area. So this is taking up a large part of the park, but we're hoping to make it an amenity by having it kind of be interesting with kind of a themed idea. And we'll continue to maintain those facilities that are at the park, such as the basketball and the tennis court, and then the playground as well. And here's just an example of interactive example that's in Edina. So this is the Linmar Basin. So they've kind of got these different stepping stones amongst plantings for people to interact both when it's dry and wet. Another positive thing, kind of the reason we got this grant, is it's actually helping us provide additional resiliency in terms of stormwater management. So we're able to take out, what is it, about 60-ish structures from the floodplain. And when I say floodplain, it's more of a modeled floodplain. So think about we get a really heavy rain, street flooding versus, you know, you're on the river, the floodplain kind of thing. So that's one of the reasons why we were successful in getting this grant, is because there's really very little stormwater in the area, stormwater management in the area, stormwater pipes. And so by putting in this sort of stormwater management, we're helping provide some resiliency for that neighborhood. And you know what? I'll let Evan take this one.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, Sam mentioned, Evan Acosta, Assistant City Engineer. Happy to be here tonight for multiple agenda items. But the graphic up here is a phasing map from our capital improvements plan. And what you're seeing in gold, kind of on the right side of the screen, is the area that's been sort of promoted from 2030 to 2026 as part of this grant-funded project. So since we'll be doing Pennock, Dutchess, and Greening Parks, we applied kind of the same dollars that would have gone to the green area on the left of the screen from that reconstruction phase to create a new reconstruction phase that better suited the amount of work that will be taking place at Pennock Park, as well as being able to accommodate some of the sanitary sewer and water main needs kind of in that area. So that's the general nexus behind this graphic, is to start to tell the story that we'll be highlighting with the residents within the neighborhood of maybe why we're changing phasing from a pre-established plan that I'm sure if you've been in the neighborhood, you know that these residents are looking forward to having their streets replaced.
All right, so kind of next steps for us is we had a kickoff meeting with our consultants. So we've got different consultants working on the project. We're working with HKGI on some of the public engagement. We're working with Bar Engineering on some of the stormwater components, and then we're working with Bolton and Mink, who are our typical street engineers for designing our street projects. So starting here soon, we'll be conducting topographical field survey just to get additional information, utility locations, some of the surface features within that work zone, soil borings, and then we're intending to do additional neighborhood information meetings to discuss the project. And then we're going to kind of move towards that final plan, specs, project cost estimate, schedule for construction, and then we'll be reviewing those project plans probably with this group again, potentially, I assume, and then City Council to get that moving forward. And just kind of one side note, I brought it up earlier, but this kind of correlates with additional work that we had done in 2023, 24 on expanding Whitney Pond. So Whitney Pond is actually located in Burnsville. However, we are looking to expand that pond into, you can see the Burnsville Apple Valley breakdown. We had community engagement about expanding this pond into this open space area here and incorporating a new bridge component shown in this kind of brown color. And then this would just show the existing trail removal. So it would continue to have a looped feature for those walking. And this is something that we have been successful in getting a Clean Water Fund grant, about $313,000, but we're also chasing some funds through what's called the Point Source Implementation Grant Program. That's through the state, and it's dollars that are allocated from the legislator. So that occurred in the most recent bonding bill that was passed this summer, and it's kind of a project priority list, so we're kind of just working through the ins and outs of that funding, but we're excited to to have that as an opportunity as well. And it should make some good improvements for Keller Lake. And I think I kind of summarized that, but once again, that project was identified in that sub-watershed assessment I talked about at the beginning. And we actually moved forward with a feasibility study that was grant funded, and we did that engagement and just kind of working towards figuring out those grant dollars and then moving forward with project construction.
Sam, could you go back to the diagram that kind of shows the 3 parks? And I just want to, the one, yeah, that's fine. So just want to point out to committee members, so as Sam mentioned, we're working with HKGI on this project from a community engagement perspective. They're also, HKGI is also doing all of our park work for the 13 parks that we're planning for in 26, for the 5 or 6 parks that we're doing this year in 25. So that's really good coordination. We've got the same group of folks helping us work on that. But want to point out that this construction will happen in 26, and so all 3 of those parks will be under construction in 26, which means if you live in that neighborhood, you're not going to have a whole lot of park options. And so we may hear about that from residents as we do some public engagement. So just wanted to bring it to your attention that we're aware of that, but there's not really a way around it. Because of the grant dollars associated with when we need to spend them and all the stormwater work that's going on, et cetera. So just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thanks, Eric.
So there's actual going to be ponds in Dutchess and Greening. Those will actually be water ponds. I mean,
Mr. Chair, so Greening Park is proposed to have a pond that will have water in it at all times. It'll be kind of your traditional detention pond, if you will. Dutchess Park will be an infiltration basin, so the pond itself or the basin itself will be designed to draw down within 48 hours of a rainfall. So it typically will not have water in it, nor will the PENOC component, which is also an infiltration basin.
so this is surface water that will be going into these?
Correct. The surface drainage, and Sam, maybe if you can back us up to that, the other graphic, keep going backwards. One more. So you can see kind of in the mess here, there's a lot of different colored highlights that surround each park. So that's the surface water that we're capturing from the neighborhood and then transitioning into the parks for treatment and then detention and then transmission down into Keller Lake. So where we can't infiltrate it, it will make its way down to Keller Lake.
So if you get a 7-inch rainfall, it's not, you can shut it off from all going into those ponds and overflowing, or?
Well, Mr. Chair, the ponds will be designed to accommodate the 100-year, so that 7-inch or that super large rainfall. So those will be designed to kind of carry that weight or that storage with them. So when we talk about the reduction in the flood shape in the neighborhood, that's kind of the benefit that these ponds bring, is that when we have those super large rainfalls, now there's a place for the water to go instead of just being kind of trapped in people's yards in low spots and or sitting in the street and flooding. It now has the opportunity to make its way through a basin or through an infiltration basin to the storm sewer system.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, these ponds are typically designed with an emergency overflow so that if the water does get high enough, there's a secondary relief of that water.
That would be a concern of the homeowner, I would think. So these could dry up at some time then too? I mean, if we have a...
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the only pond we would, expect to hold water, call it year-round, would be Greening Park at its current design. I'll say that we do have additional soil borings coming that may allow that one to be an infiltration basin. Our first preference would be to have the rainwater infiltrate into the ground and recharge the groundwater in the aquifers. That'd be our first preference. Sometimes the soils don't allow that, and we need to kind of handle that in a typical detention pond fashion and then transmit it into the storm sewer. So, Dutchess and PENOC parks, in your average sunny day where it hasn't rained in 48 hours, will typically be a dry basin with native vegetation and a buffer with those.
Will weeds and stuff take over those at all? Or, I mean, because they're not obviously going to be mowed or anything, so
Mr. Chair, that's a great point. I don't know if you've been out to Erickson Park lately, but we did a similar type of project out at Erickson Park, and we're continuing to manage that native vegetation. Typically, native vegetation takes about 3 to 5 years to establish, and then we're continuing to maintain those long-term, especially when we have got these grant dollars. It's very important for us to get those on a maintenance plan to kind of keep those weeds at a minimum. And it's possible, maybe not in this circumstance where we would utilize a controlled burn, it might just be kind of maintenance mows every few years just to kind of keep the weeds low, and then just spraying for weeds as needed.
All right, very good.
So, just a couple of comments. I really like the idea of the engagement in the, I think it was at Pennock, whether it's wet or dry, the stepping stones and that sort of thing. That's a really cool idea. One thing that comes to mind, and this would actually apply with the ALIMAGNET restoration, maybe this is more on Eric's side of the business. You mentioned to me that, or you mentioned to us that you won't even know that the infiltration basin is there, which is cool that it won't like interfere, you know, the big, I don't remember what the thing in Dutchess Park is called. But it would be good if we could add some signage in these areas where we're doing these restorations and where we're installing these technologies, explaining why it's there, what it's doing, the benefits. Because I think education on a lot of this is really important. It's easy to miss some of these things that happen under the ground, or to overlook a native planting and think it's, you know, just overgrown and not being maintained. So I think to the extent that we can incorporate any kind of educational signage or anything like that with any of these projects would be beneficial.
Noted, and we do, at Erickson Park, we have kind of an interactive sign, and so that's something that we'll include for sure. So.
Cool, thank you.
And the fact that it got a big grant is always good publicity as well.
Bet that was a really good day.
It was.
Hey, well done, and congrats on the added money. When's the next time the new iteration goes in front of community for feedback?
Mr. Committee Member Smith, we intend to be back in front of the public with community engagement in mid to late September. We've tasked HKGI, and Gabrielle's actually here, we've tasked them to come up with some options for discussion at this community engagement, such that the residents in the area have something to look at, something to weigh in on. So up until this point, where we didn't know whether we'd be funded or not, we sort of made, I'll say, vague references to what we're hoping to achieve with a picture in the back of our mind. It's time to produce the picture, show the residents, and get the input as part of the next step. So we would expect kind of mid to late September.
How much time does that give you to lock in the grant then?
The grant agreement has been finalized, so the grant is unusually flexible in that we allocated funds as a to be determined through public engagement to be spent for enhancements for natural play. So they agreed with and are allowing that money to be allocated by us for kind of reasons that we see fit within the parks.
Nice.
What's your time frame to spend?
So we have to deliver these projects by the end of June 2027, and that's most of what we're delivering as part of the grant-funded work is within the stormwater basin components. So getting the infrastructure in the ground, getting vegetation restored. There are playground components and trail components as part of the grant-funded work. We will work closely with Eric, but you know, there's obviously work that's occurring in the parks whether we were there or not, and some of that isn't grant funded. I certainly won't say it takes a backseat, but if Eric kind of feels the need, or if things are getting clustered, you know, that could lag a little bit behind the hard excavations that we'll be doing as part of this work to meet that deadline, since it is such a quick turnaround for us.
Okay.
And if I may, just one more item is we are intending to do kind of a separate project website for this to kind of keep people updated and provide some engagement opportunities. So we're working towards that as well.
We have experience in that.
Any other questions? All right.
Work on both grants.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, member of the
Thank you.
committee.
All right, next is bicycle and pedestrian plan update, and I think I know who's going to do that.
Well, I'll start with a good evening, Mr. Chair and committee members, just in case this is clipped for YouTube or TV or anything like that. Evan Acosta, Assistant City Engineer. With me today I have Gabrielle Grindy, which I'm sure you're familiar with, from HKGI. Gabrielle and her team were selected from the city to deliver the 2025 Bicycle and Ped Plan update, which builds upon the work that was done in 2010 with that original bike plan that we had as the city. So I'll let Gabrielle take it away from here, but first I'll say a special thank you to our Mr. Chair and Randy Bailey for their work as part of task force members. We met several times as a task force to have deeper discussions, and then I think we'll have one task force meeting left, so we'll expect, we'll send you guys something shortly on that. But Gabrielle will give you guys the update on the plan.
All right, good evening. So I'm Gabrielle Gurney, landscape architect with HKGI. I did not have the privilege of attending the task force meetings, but I did attend one pop-up with Evan, and I've been working behind the scenes with Natalie at our office to develop this plan. Oh, is this the full document?
It should be. This is the slides.
Oh, technical difficulties.
Was this not the presentation that you sent me?
Well, that's the plan document.
Oh, goodness.
I could go through that really fast.
I was like, it feels very long. Sorry, everyone. I have to authenticate.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any jokes or?
Mr. Chair, may I suggest that we just table this item for just a moment while Kayla gets it set up, and we maybe move to the next item on the agenda. And then hopefully by that time, we'll have the presentation ready.
Okay.
Okay? Sorry, Gabrielle.
All right, so then we will do item D, which is discuss city entrance monument signs.
So, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, at the last meeting, you wanted to have this item on your agenda, and you wanted to have a memo that the committee would review and consider submitting to the city council related to entrance monuments at the kind of the four main entrance points within the city. So we have drafted a memo for your consideration. Feel free to talk about it. Feel free to change it if you want to, and let us know if that's something that you want forwarded on to the city council. So I'll turn it over to the committee to have your internal discussion and provide us with direction.
Well, I see you redid the memo from the original one, which I think is an improvement.
Okay?
So, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed that or anybody.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah.
the modification to the memo.
Yep.
And in reviewing it, it looks good to me.
Yep.
I'd be ready to approve it and send it on to the council if the other committee members feel the same.
Okay. Any discussion?
No, that's very similar to what we had already talked about.
Yes.
So I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
We'll need a motion to, yes, to approve it and to send it in a memo to the city council.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter and send it on to the city council.
All right, I have a motion from Noel,
Second?
and I have a second from Dave. Any other further discussion?
Negative.
Negative? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we're going to ask you to maybe make another little adjustment to the agenda. And you had added item G to the agenda. Why don't you take care of item G while we still look for the correct presentation?
Okay. This is the naming rights for the pickleball courts. Discussion?
Well, I think we, in our informal discussion, we talked about the upcoming improvements to create or improve the pickleball area from 8 courts to 16 courts, which really makes it a complex, not just a bunch of courts. And as part of that, we talked about naming that, and I guess the word would be honoring our former city council member, Tom Goodwin, to and naming the pickleball complex, the Goodwin Pickleball Complex. And I guess I would make a motion that we recommend to the council that the pickleball complex be named as such, and move that on for their approval.
The only thing I'd clarify is we want that to be discussed with Tom before it goes to the city council for adoption. So I'd say make a motion to recommend that pending his approval, that it be called the Goodwin.
Certainly fine with that modification.
Okay. Randy, you okay?
Agreed.
Good? Everyone's good?
Do we have a
Okay,
second?
so
Do we have that motion?
did,
Had a motion,
Yeah.
second?
all right, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I think we're ready for.
We're ready now.
We're ready for the bike ped
There it
park
is.
plan.
Hey, there we go.
It's a great presentation.
All
We
right, it's
graduated.
going to be an amazing
No
presentation.
more jokes.
Much shorter.
Okay.
It's
Good
gonna be
evening,
really long.
once again. All right, so I'll briefly go over the project process and then dive into a little bit of the plan content, and then at the end, we'll highlight some of our top priorities and have some discussion on that. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So the process, we started back in December of last year. The city was awarded a grant from the county through the State Health Improvement Partnership, and that grant stipulated some of what was required to go into the plan, which part of it was including engagement. So from January to April, we conducted online engagement, we had 2 pop-ups, and we also had the task force meetings. We put information in the city newsletter in March to try to get feedback on that survey, and then we developed the plan through the spring, and now we have the draft plan, so we're almost finished with our process. So this is a list of the meetings and engagement methods that were conducted throughout, including the online survey, the website, the pop-up meetings, Planning Commission, Park and Rec Advisory Committee updates in March, the task force meetings, and then City Council, which will be coming up later this month. So in the plan, it's about 50 pages long. There are 5 sections, and I'll go through each section to talk a little bit about what's included in each section in the plan. So the first section is about the plan. We talk about the purpose for the plan, so that is really updating the previous plan. So there was a 2010 bike walk Apple Valley plan, and so we took a lot of the content, we took some of the guiding principles from that plan and updated them for this plan. Another purpose was to really reach out to the community and get feedback on what they wanted to see for the bicycle and pedestrian system in the community, and then we're guiding policy and programming improvements throughout the community with this plan. So the benefits of a connected bicycle and walking network include safety, so making it safe for everyone that uses it, from young people to old, making it more healthy, so active living, getting people outside, providing easy and convenient options for them to be outside and be healthy. So air quality, which is achieved by fewer vehicle trips, so if people choose to bike or walk to places in the community rather than driving, that would help the air quality. Providing sustainable and efficient transportation networks, so bikes and feet create less wear and tear on roads, so if more people are using the trails than the roads, then you have less wear and tear on the roads, theoretically. So livability and mobility, people want to live in bikeable and walkable communities. Typically, we see that bikeable and walkable communities have higher value and more people want to live there. Recreation, which was a big one in Apple Valley when we had those pop-up meetings, a lot of people talked about the recreational value of the bike trails, especially going throughout the county, so the greenways they really appreciate. And then household and community prosperity, so that gets at the idea that if you choose to bike or walk, you're saving money and you're taking up less space on the roads. And then regional and economic competitiveness, so that gets back to some of the livability and mobility, that it's economic development to bring people to a community that is walkable and bikeable. So who are we planning for the bike and pedestrian system? We're looking a lot at those groups identified in the bullet. So students, a lot of students that can walk and bike to school will choose to do that if they are able to safely. Older adults who choose to recreate by walking around their neighborhood or biking. commuters and workers who are able to commute with the bike and walk system. So we're also looking at transit, which goes to public transportation users. So they're going to start at their home and either bike or walk to the transit station to get on transit. And then recreational users. So again, that's a big part of the Apple Valley community and what they wanted to see in the system. The bottom diagram here shows biking comfort levels. So this is a theory that's been identified through previous planning nationwide. So there are 4 categories: strong and fearless, so those are people that would bike anywhere on road. Enthusiastic and confident, these are people that might choose to use bike lanes but would typically prefer a trail. Interested but concerned are people that would prefer an off-road trail that's separated from vehicle traffic. And then not able or interested, so people that maybe are just not able to bike, or they're too young or too old to bike. So the interested but concerned group was mostly who we're looking to plan for. And when we did the pop-up meetings, we asked people to put a sticker on which group they identify with, and most people fall into that interested but concerned. So really we're looking at how can we provide safe off-road facilities throughout the system. So again, the community engagement, we had a few pop-up meetings. You can see Evan in those pictures up there at the boards. And we did ask people to provide input on the system and to call out where there are barriers in the system or where they think connections should be made. And we heard a lot about the high value of the trails. People really value the trails. They like having them, and they move to the community for them. So the thing that was brought up a lot was intersections, so crossing intersections safely, as there are a lot of high volume, wide roads, county roads in the city. People want to be able to cross those safely, and they typically stay within those barriers, so they stay in their neighborhoods when they're biking and walking. Then part of the grant asked that we identify where community areas of need are, so we look at environmental justice areas. This is an MPCA definition. And then the percent population in poverty. So these 2 maps identify some of the areas in the north central and south central area that may have more low-income people, more people that use public transportation or have disabilities. So these are areas that should be focused on for priorities for improving the system. The next section is planning context. So this section has a lot of summary of previous plans. There are many other previous plans that we referred to, including statewide plans and bike and pedestrian resources that we summarized and identified so that these could be resources for future bike and ped planning. Then we included several analysis and inventory maps, so identifying where the existing trails, sidewalks, and greenways are in the system and where there are planned trails so that we know what we're working with to begin with. There are also maps that include some of the destinations in the community, some of the land use, which impacts where bike and walk facilities can go. And then we highlighted the ring route, which is a pedestrian facility, but as it's getting updated, we identified where we think some enhanced crossings should go and where maybe some additional bike facilities could be added in this area, since it is a high-use commercial area that is mainly vehicle-oriented. Then we include some other information on transit stations and stops in the city, some major road barriers. So again, those county roads are really barriers throughout the community and separate the community into neighborhoods where people stay for biking and walking. We identify some information about traffic volume and where the gaps are in the city. Then the next section is guiding principles. So we've taken the guiding principles from the 2010 bike walk plan, and we've updated them based on some of the task force information and input, and then some of the input that we got from community engagement. So we have 4 overall guiding principles. Those are reducing barriers to walking and biking. There's a number of sub-bullets for how that can be done. Encouraging alternative modes of transportation, so encouraging people to choose, whether that be through programming or just more convenient biking and walking facilities, to choose biking and walking over vehicle use. And then third is enhancing the trails and sidewalks in the community with elements that aid in navigation. So this is getting at wayfinding, fostering community, so identity and park improvements, and then establishing a sense of place. And then the 4th guiding principle is maintaining a safe and functional network throughout the community. So this is really getting at those safety improvements, which include the intersection crossings. And then on the right are the 7 E's, or the 6 E's that are required as part of the SHIP grant, but we've added a couple. So these are overall values that impact or help us identify what those recommendations are. So education, informing people about the bike walk system, engineering, so that's really getting it in the ground, physical development, equity, making sure you're planning a system that serves everyone, enforcement, making sure that the rules are followed by vehicles and bicyclists and pedestrians, experience, making it a great experience so people actually want to use the system, ethics, that gets back to equity, so making sure you're considering everyone in the system, or everyone in the community. Encouragement, that's the idea of programming, so if there can be programming and events that can encourage people to use the system, and then evaluation, so making sure that you're going back again to ensure that you're keeping to your values and guiding principles. We also have a series of best practices, so these are taken from some of those state and national resources that I mentioned earlier about crossing treatments, and trail design and maintenance. And then we have a series of recommendations that just dive into more detail from the guiding principles. So some of those recommendations including developing a complete streets policy. E-bikes came up a lot, so encouraging the city to develop an e-bike policy. So we have some resources and some information about e-bikes from other cities that have developed e-bike policies. We also have a visionary diagram of what a fully connected system could look like with a hierarchical system. So the county greenways could serve as the spines through the community, and then the county roadways with the trails could come off of those spines to serve the neighborhoods, and then there could be networks within the neighborhoods to get people to those larger spines. So we have in red showing the ring route where that's located in the southern area of the city. We also have some information on wayfinding, which the city is currently updating, and then operations and maintenance best practices. So the implementation section is the final section, and this is where we identify where the projects are. So where will the trails and intersections be improved? The trail gap projects were taken from the 2010 plan, but of course we've removed the ones that have already been completed and added to that list. And then the intersection improvements, we identified several, which are mainly at county roads throughout the community, and then several along the ring route as well. So we have some resources related to funding options and sources, which the city is great at getting grants, so they should know a lot about these, but this can be to refer to when looking to complete projects and looking for funding. So then on this slide, we have identified the top 5 priority projects. So 3 of these are actually in the CIP, 1, 3, and 4 are on city streets. So these have been identified as trail improvement projects. And then 2 and 5 on the east side of the community are on McAndrews. Those would be county partnership projects. So the city would be encouraging the county to complete these trail projects. So with that, I will open it up to any comments or feedback on these projects or on the plan in general.
Great job. I've got a question for you. So back in 2010, the original plan, former Mayor Mary, she really had an idea of being able to ride your bike all the way around the city. And at the time, very difficult to achieve. And it just kind of fell apart. Was that achieved? Or are we still working on riding your bike all the way around the city? I don't even know if it's feasible or even possible now.
You can, I do it.
You do it.
It's not,
But you have to carry your bike part of the way. Okay, I've seen you.
there's not dedicated trails all the way. You may be sharing the road, you may be sharing paths, you may be doing several things, but you can. I've been
I mean, it might have been in what she was talking about. I
Oh.
just missed it. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of information there, that's for sure.
There are connected trails throughout, of course, but there are the gaps where you will have to cross the street in order to continue. So for it to be a smooth, continuous ride, I would say that may be achievable in some areas of the city, maybe not fully around the perimeter of the city, but yeah, that's a good
We got
good question.
stoplights, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Great job. I mean, that's a lot of work you guys did.
So the grants that might be available for some of this, is that dependent on having an updated plan like this? Is that one reason that
Yeah.
we did this, is to meet
Yes.
those requirements?
Mr. Chair, the city has applied the last 2 years for a Safe Routes to School grant. And one of the pieces of feedback that we've gotten from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, who administers that grant, is it would be in the city's best interest to have an updated bicycle and ped plan, and it would be in the city's best interest to have a Safe Routes to School plan. So, as Gabrielle alluded to, we got the grant to do the updated bike and ped plan. We also got a grant to do a Safe Streets and Roads for All and Safe Routes to School plan. That'll be coming forward shortly in the next handful of months to do that. So to answer your question, there's no shortages of grants that we could apply for, and this plan in particular will really help boost our scores more than we could kind of even explain, especially on roadway projects that are lacking connectivity. A key scoring component of roadway projects has been historically pedestrian connectivity. So now having this updated plan where, you know, just last year we were using a plan from 2010 to try and get grant funds, and, you know, they've kind of said, you might want to look at updating that. So it'll help tremendously.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
I got a question on this slide with 5 priority projects. That looks great, you know, why can't that be done next week? Or, you know, is it just gonna sit in the plan and sit there forever, or what? How does that actually, how does the city take action on these 5 priority projects?
Yeah, great question. And I think the 5 segments shown kind of illustrate maybe 3 different ways that we would accomplish closing these trail gaps. Segment 1, maybe you're familiar with, the old par 3 golf course turned into the Eagle Point development, which is those villas and townhomes. As part of that, they extended a great distance of bituminous trail on the north side of 140th. That leaves us with a small gap that the neighbors are rightfully, you know, knocking the door down to try and get that tiny bit closed off, and that's ranked high for since 2010. That's been a high priority gap. So now we have a manageable size gap that development made a large chunk in. So development's one of the key ways. As gaps in the rest of town see development or redevelopment, we now have bite-sized pieces versus the full steak dinner that we can go after. And that's a lot easier to budget for, especially with all the other stuff that we're chasing around with our CIP. Gaps 3 and 4 are up near kind of the overpass of the MnDOT overpass. So MnDOT has ADA improvements coming through periodically. You know, we only have a small section of MnDOT roadway, that's Trunk Highway 77. So as MnDOT creates those improvements, they allow us to partner with them to close gaps that are adjacent with them. And that kind of goes with 2 and 5. As our partners close gaps, other partners are Dakota County, we have the opportunity to cost effectively close them ourselves or participate in that. So those are the main ways we do it. You know, the fallback option is, right, we can budget, we can CIP for some of the more priority gaps as we start to whittle them down. But when they're kind of all over town, it can make it harder to put money into a budget at, you know, $300,000, $400,000, where, you know, that can also go a long way in mill and overlay. And we're hearing from the residents, you know, on the one year it's, can we get this gap closed? On the other year it's, our road is in terrible shape, and we're balancing that.
So whose budget does, with these projects, if the city said we want to do number 1, whose budget does that come out of?
We do have an annual budget for ADA improvements. Lately, past 5 years, we've been very busy updating pedestrian crossings at intersections where enhanced signage, striping, and maybe concrete median refuge islands are needed. That's been the bulk of getting those up to compliant and safe. And, you know, we also, like gap one here, will use ADA funds as well as just general capital improvement road funds to kind of help bolster that to finish off the gap. So that's not to say we can't save up our ADA funds over several years to tackle a large gap, but that would take several years of no improvements.
No, that's helpful to know. Thank you.
So as you're looking at these plans, I understand there's a lot of different considerations to balance, but as you add more trails, you add more trails that you have to maintain, like what you just said. Is there consideration to kind of in the areas alongside the trails to install low-mow or shorter native coverage, that plant coverage that you don't have to mow as much? Because I've seen, you know, on the trails by my house, it's all just turf grass, and so they're Apple Valley mowers going over once a week, and somebody's got to mow it constantly, and that costs money, takes time. Is there any consideration to doing that as you're doing these projects?
That's a great question and a great comment, and we're lucky to have Sam Berger still here, our natural resources coordinator. Don't worry, I'm not throwing you in the wolves on this one. What I will say is that, you know, typically on our trails, we'll have, you know, the standard 2-foot clear zone. So 2 feet on either side of the trail we like to have as a mowed surface because, right, if you've got a stroller, a bike, and a dog, now someone's gonna probably have to yield. Outside of that 2 feet, I know Sam is probably the biggest advocate. I saw you wave, so I'm assuming you're also an advocate for the environment. But you know, our advocates are kind of chiming in and looking for places to incorporate native mix, looking to incorporate the vegetation that doesn't require as much maintenance. Our streets, and I'm sure parks are on board for, you know, lessening that load. So it's something we'll continue to look at. Not quite in the same scope as what this plan looked at.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
A lot of information. All right, now we've bounced around here. I think we're at E, Division Update, Senior Programs.
Yep, and Sharon is here from the Senior Center, and she's going to give a quick presentation on what's going on at the Senior Center.
Thank you, Sharon.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chair and committee. I am Sharon Lemke, Recreation Supervisor, and positioned over with the Apple Valley Seniors, where we just get to have fun. Go to the next one. So for the year 24-25, we were at 912 members. The seniors in the executive committee do a fiscal year. So beginning July 1st, we just started renewing memberships. Along with that, we have already gained 54 as of today new members, which is really, really good. They're coming in like crazy. Here you can see kind of where they're residing with the bulk in Apple Valley, and then just multiple locations. A lot of our seniors attend multiple locations. A lot of them do Rosemont and Apple Valley or Lakeville and Apple Valley, just depending on the different activities that we have. We have several bridge players where some locations have stopped doing duplicate bridge. So we've picked up and have a huge group of duplicate bridge players now. And I think Burnsville is the only other one that will do duplicate bridge. So now they come to Apple Valley and they come to Burnsville, and we welcome that. They do a membership. Residents pay $20 for the year. Non-residents pay $25. Some of the more popular things going on right now are the trips, especially with our new seniors. So we've trying to focus a lot on the trips. So we did trolley rides in Stillwater, a Lake Minnetonka cruise, Treasure Island Casino, the Jason Show, the Osceola train ride will go this fall for kind of a fall leaf tour. And we actually got it up for registrations, and we can take 50 on a bus, and all of a sudden we had 30 on a waiting list. So we were able to add another bus, and now that bus is almost full. So they're really getting into those. They love the theater, so Chanhassen, we're doing Jersey Boys, or we've done Jersey Boys. Grease is upcoming, and then in February, we're doing Guys and Dolls. And then we also have a St. Paul Christmas Light Tour coming up, but they'll do dinner and tour the St. Paul Lights. And then also, Nate kind of helped work this out with us. The park maintenance crew built us this nice new planter, which is on top left. And the seniors have planted that. We got a donation with the Lions Club. And so the seniors went to town, planted it, and even threw in cherry tomato plants on either end. And then it's kind of gonna be multi-purpose because over the winters, we've had a huge problem with the wind blowing. And so we've had a kind of an unsightly orange snow fence. And we're hoping that this will help block the snow from staying on our sidewalk to help it clear for the seniors. This is our executive committee with our president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, assistant secretary, and a member at large, and they're all wonderful volunteers that we have.
So the city does not have a representative on the committee?
The city, that's me. I attend, yeah. I attend the executive committee meetings as well. Here's kind of our calendar, if you've ever seen it, calendar of regularly scheduled activities. And it gets tight when people either want to move around their activity or start a new activity. It gets a little bit tight to try to find the day that works best for them. And here's just some more of a list of all of our activities between games, card games. We used to do a Wii bowling league, which I should have changed out on there. We now have one special needs woman who comes in, buses in every day with her Wheel of Fortune Wii game. And so we set her up with the TV and she just loves it. A lot of education and social groups with book clubs. So many educational speakers and presentations from Medicare to hospice to, what else have we had lately? Trying to remember. Different authors come in with books that they've written. The storytelling group is getting really large and taking up a lot of it's going on and on because people just love to tell their stories. Then the active groups, we offer exercise 5 days a week. Still the most popular is our morning stretch, which meets Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a brand new one with chair Pilates, and then a core and cardio group. And then also on the city end, we offer yoga, tai chi, and zabit. That brings in revenue for the city. And that's the same with the tours. That's on the city side that we operate. A lot of creative groups, color and chat, knitting and crocheting, the Stitchers group, quilting, recreated cards, painters. We have 2 music groups, seniors that get together to play instruments, and also a newer one with the sing-along where they come in and we have a piano that was donated. So they do sing-alongs with that. On the rental side, these are just some of the various groups that rent. We have a couple churches that rent consistently, Saturdays and Sundays, and then otherwise we're really getting a lot of homeowners associations coming in, as well as the Medicare groups, which a lot of times those are done during the daytime. This is kind of a breakdown of how many renters for the 2024 year, broken down into each room rental, so they can do one section of the Yellowstone, 2 the full Yellowstone. We have a small classroom of the glacier, and then the Yosemite room is the theater style room, which is very popular. And then this is kind of the breakdown of what we're, just as of January through August 2025, same thing, the breakdown of how many rentals and how many hours. And then if you have any questions.
Man, it looks like a lot of fun.
They do have fun.
You might see me down there.
You should. Definitely.
Hey, thank you for your service and your colleagues and your volunteers.
Thank
This
you.
is an important part of our
Yeah,
community.
we have a great staff.
So much going on in the senior center and our
Mm-hmm.
informal meeting. It was exciting. What are you most excited about with the enhancements? And if there is anything, what are you most
What
concerned
am I
about?
most excited about? I like that there's it's a mixed bag with them, just more space in the coffee lounge. We're outgrowing especially our resource center. We have so many outside resources that come in with their flyers and brochures, that we need more space in the coffee area to try to prepare the coffee is getting really small, really little, and kind of crowded.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anything that you see concerns around or anything that,
The concerns, I think, generally, what their concerns are being so far away from staff. My only concern is I just want to be able to get there in case of an injury or a medical situation.
it's understandable?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else?
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We have a F, Parks Referendum Update.
D.
F, huh?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'll just give a really quick update. Had prior given you an update at the informal, but so the community knows. So obviously the Splash Valley Water Park, that was opened back in June. We've heard nothing but positive accolades for that project. It'll be closing for the year on August 20th, so there's not that many days left to go. So if you're hearing this at home, make sure you get your trip to the water park in before August 20th. We have started the skate park. The contractor will be on site starting Monday, and so people will start to see the skate park come alive over the next 4 to 10 weeks, roughly. The pickleball court project at Johnny Cake is underway. We'll start paving that in the next week or two, and by the beginning of October, people will start to be able to play pickleball on the 8 new courts there, and those new 8 courts will be lighted. So this fall, as it gets dark, a little bit earlier in the evening, but not past bedtime, so to say, people will be able to be in the park using those courts with the lights that are there. If you've driven down County Road 42 West, just before you enter Burnsville, you've got Redwood Park on the right-hand side, and that is fully under construction. You'll see the foundation starting to come out of the ground for the building, and the pool is starting to take shape as well. Then, if you go over to Kelly Park and have attended one of the Music and Kelly Park concerts lately, you'll notice that there's a construction fence on about half of the park there. And so construction has started at Kelly Park as soon as the last concert on Friday nights at the park. At the end of August, then the entire park will be under construction. Then we also have 5 neighborhood parks starting construction, that being Carrollwood, Chaparral, Cobblestone Southeast, Greenleaf North, and Cedar Isles are the parks that are being constructed this year. So that's just a very brief overview of what's going on in the park system related to the referendum.
I have a question about the skate park. Which one of the staff is going to drop in first when it's finished?
I believe Councilmember Goodwin actually volunteered to do that.
I don't know, everyone was pointing at Nate, so it might be him.
On his stomach, on a board.
I have good health insurance, so I can do whatever I need to.
Aaron, did you get any feedback on Kelly Park with the tree removal at all?
I have not received any emails or voicemails or phone
Oh,
calls.
really? That's-
Correct. I have not. I'm not saying anyone else hasn't, but I have not. And I don't think anyone else has either. So no.
Okay, good.
I got a question for you on Splash Valley. You see that closing August 20th in 2 weeks, and we just seemed like we opened the place a short few weeks ago. And I know the issue has always seemed to be lifeguards. Is that the only issue that is stopping stopping it from continuing to stay open through mid-September, another month? Or are there other issues if we could magically find lifeguards? Is there other reasons that we couldn't keep it open?
Yes, thank you, Chair and council members, the committee members. The biggest thing with this is the staffing. You know, for safety on here, we do have a lot of college students that have left us already. We're gonna have a majority of other college students that'll leave us next week. And then a lot of our staff are high school athletes, and so they have their fall sports that are starting up as well. So for purposes of safety, we can't operate at a level with enough staff that late into the season in order to do so. We are in line with many of the other, city parks, if you will, city water parks of closing around the same time. If we could have more staff, we could look at that in the future, but at this point in time, it is a safety issue with not having enough staff.
But if you, have you ever talked to Egan and said, all right, you're losing 90% or 80% of your staff, so maybe the 20% could come over to Splash Valley one year and go to the other place another year, or some type of collaboration? Or does everybody just go, we're done?
A lot of that ends up happening that way. We have our staff that are, they're doing a full, 10 to 12 weeks, depending on which aquatic park that they're at. And it's that they're done, they're burnt out a little bit. They're looking forward to moving on to their, next phase of college or high school. A lot of them want that week or two break too before they get back into it. The other thing that we run into on this is how do we train them? Because it's going to take so long because all the different parks are different. So I don't know that cost efficiently, that'd be a good move for us to do at this time.
Would it be something that you could look at in the future, maybe the last week or two leading up to Labor Day, having like reduced hours, so just being open kind of during peak, like 1 to 4 or something, to minimize the amount of hours you need to cover with whoever may be left? Or we are so bare bones that we couldn't even do something like that?
I would say we are pretty bare bones at that time. The other part of it too is that we still have to chlorinate and put chemicals and everything into that water park, and so that'd be a big cost for us there without seeing a return on a daily use on it. So we're not able to just reduce those chemicals and pump them back up later. It would have to stay pretty much consistent the whole time, just in case someone were to get in the park and fall in or any of that nature. But we do cost efficiency again is an issue on this one.
Okay, thank you.
Would it be helpful if the committee members got trained and read bathing suits and got out there, and would be enough to cover?
Scary, but not helpful.
Okay, just checking.
You in a bathing suit?
I'd like to motion that no.
I've already been out there for a while.
One of the things that we run into on this as well is, obviously with all of our staff cutting in half, week to week to week, we have staff that are working 7 days a week and up to 18 days in a row at this time too. So it's difficult for them to have their focus in place. Again, it becomes another big safety issue.
They actually do look tired. I mean, I've been out there. They're ready to be done, I think.
It's a lot of time in the sun.
A lot of time in the sun, and they're ready to get back to college.
They do a great job for us. We're glad that we have them. And, like we talked about earlier too, they are the #1 compliment that we get for that facility.
Yep, they do a good job.
You do a very good job.
All right, number 6 is committee and staff discussion items. Is there anything there that needs to be? Nothing? We're good? All right, then input from committee members on the next agenda. Committee members? I do have one thing I think the committee should take up, and that is back in January, we looked at the 2 funds for the Park and Rec Department. One was the Park Dedication Fund, and the other was the Park Facilities Fund. And we looked at the numbers as far as the money that was being put into those. It had dropped dramatically, and to the point where it could almost be defunded, I think. I think it would be a good idea for this committee to look at that and decide what we think should be done with that fund, and then recommend it to the city council. I think it would be an excellent thing. I think that's something that this committee is meant to do, so. I would like that put on a future item It would need to be done before the end of the year, because next year begins the budgeting process, and this really needs to be done before that happens, so that would be my suggestion for an additional agenda item.
Are there JPA activity coming up in the fall? Are there any JPAs coming up for interesting dialogue right now? I think about Eastview and what's going on there, and so I'm just interested in what those parcels might do in the future. So is there any new information that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we have met with officials from the school district and from Eastview High School, and we are working on revising the current JPA that oversees the Eastview Johnny Cake complex. And so I'm going to guess it's going to take some time, maybe sometime in the first quarter of 26 is when we will have a document that we would share with the Parks Committee.
Okay. Well, members, just keep in mind, if you have ideas, that's what we're here for. We want to try and do our best to make sure that we have the best Park and Rec department, and ideas are the best way to do that. So if the light bulb ever goes off, write it down and let's talk about it. All right. At this time, we are probably looking for a certain motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
That's the motion. We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Would anyone be objecting? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.